يا أمة الإسلام بشرى لن يطول بك الهوان قد لاح فجرك باسما فلترقبي ذاك الزمان.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your deeds and du'as. If you are enjoying this series, please share it widely. It could be that someone watches one of these videos and their life could change as a result of it, and you will get the reward for that. Please like, comment, share and subscribe. Today's dream, it comes from a story which I would say is one of the most fascinating stories that I ever heard in my life. And I heard this from various sources, including two or three people who knew this person individually. They knew him personally, and I actually went to the place where all of this happened. From 1992 to 1995, there was a genocide in Bosnia. Some people, if you are old enough, you may remember it. If you don't remember it, in my lifetime, it is the most horrific genocide that I have ever witnessed. And I don't say that lightly. As I'm recording this, there's a genocide in Gaza, and that's not to belittle anything, whatever they are going through. What's happening in Gaza, for the large part, they're firing bombs at people from planes. In Bosnia, there were no planes, but there was upfront brutality. And I'm going to spare you the details because that's not the lesson from this stream, but the Muslims of Bosnia were subjected to some horrific atrocities. I'm going to share a link to a video. If you get a chance, please do watch it, and it will inform you about what happened in Bosnia. And it's important for us to be informed about what actually happened. So I went to Bosnia at the start of the war, and I went there several times. I went as an aid worker, and then when I saw some things, then I joined the Bosnian army, and I saw some combat there, and eventually I came back. You can see the whole video of how I went to Bosnia. There's a podcast that I did in October 2024 with British Asian rapper Shizio. So there's a 4-hour podcast where I'm talking about my life, so you can get those details there, but this video is not about me. The genocide began in Bosnia in April 1992 after the Bosnian Muslims, they declared independence from the Bosnian Serbs. What happened then is that Muslims began to be massacred and killed in horrific ways, which I'm not going to share on this video, for the next 3 and a bit years. So during the start of that war, from the start of that war until the end, there were many Muslim foreign fighters who went there to help defend the Muslims of Bosnia from genocide. Many of these were fighters from countries all over the world. Some of them had fought in Afghanistan, they'd fought the Russians, and when that war ended, they came to Bosnia to help the Muslims in Bosnia. At that time, as regards the UK and many other countries, but especially, I talk from the UK, it was legal for someone to go to Bosnia and to fight to protect people against genocide. To go to a foreign country and fight is not legal now in the UK. You could get prosecuted, and if you're going to do it, make sure when you come back, if you come back, then you should be prepared to go to prison, or you could lose your citizenship or whatever. So a lot of people, they get into these things, they watch videos and they get emotional and they like, yeah, I don't fear no one but Allah, and then they go and they like rip up their passports and I'm going to die here, and then 3 weeks later they're crying, begging to come back home, and they're in a problem. Don't be that person. Know exactly what you're getting yourself into. And also be cautious about fighting other people's wars or getting involved in conflicts that you have no idea about. Sometimes conflicts, they appear to us to be one thing, but there's actually several powers behind them. So that's a separate topic. But anyway, this is the story of one man who went to Bosnia in the summer of 1992. His name was Hamad Ali Khalifa. Now, the Ali Khalifa is the ruling family of Bahrain. So this man was a member of the royal family. He was a prince. And he spent some time in Afghanistan fighting the Russians. And then he returned to Bahrain. And while he was in Bahrain, in the few months after returning from Afghanistan to Bahrain, he saw a dream. And he saw this dream twice. Once in Bahrain, and then he saw it again in the United Arab Emirates. He saw this mountain range that was known as the Balkan mountain range, the Balkan, the mountains of the Balkan, the mountains of Balkans. He saw that these mountains are calling his name. They're shouting out his name and it's echoing everywhere. He saw that dream once, and then he saw it a second time. So he went to one of his uncles who knew about dream interpretation, and he asked him, what is this? What is Balkan? What's the significance for Muslims about Balkan? And his uncle told him that the Balkan, the Balkans, is an area in Central Europe which the Muslims, they conquered under the Turkish conqueror Muhammad al-Fatih, and for many years Muslims have been living there, and a few months ago a genocide began against the Muslims of Bosnia, which is where the Balkan mountain range is. This man then, he decided to go and fight in Bosnia, and he chose as his nickname Muhammad al-Fatih al-Bahraini. Muhammad al-Fatih was the name of that Turkish conqueror who conquered the Balkans, and now Muhammad al-Fatih al-Bahraini was traveling to Bosnia to help the Muslims there. So eventually he traveled and he went to Croatia. He went from his country, he went to Europe, and then he managed to get to Croatia, to Split, to get a bus into Bosnia. When he sat on that bus, he met two other Arabs there from different countries who got onto the bus at the same time as him. And so they were doing this bus journey. It's about a 20-hour bus journey into Bosnia. They were doing that together. When they stopped at a checkpoint and he had to give in his passport, the two guys with him, the two Arab guys with him, saw that this guy's passport is different. It's a different color. And when they saw the name on his passport, it said Sheikh. Sheikh is a term in the Arabian royal families. It's a term used for a member of the royal family. So before his name, it says Sheikh so-and-so and so-and-so, to show that this person is a prince. So when they saw that, oh my God, this guy's a prince of one of the wealthiest countries in the world, he made them swear an oath by Allah, never disclose my identity to anyone, never tell anyone who my family is, or that I am from a royal family, or that I'm a prince. Never tell that to anyone, please. It's because he wanted people to deal with him and respect him, not on account of who he was in terms of his family or his status, but in terms of the person he was and how he dealt with them. So they swore that oath that they would not tell anyone who he was. So these three guys, they went to Bosnia and they established and they went to this base, which I went to. I went to this base in the mountains. Some of my stories, I've spoken about this base. And he was there, and he would get up in the night and he would clean the toilets for the others. He would prepare the food. He would wash the dishes. He would get up early and go down to the boiler, get some firewood and warm some water, so that when the other brothers, they woke up for Fajr, the water would be warm, because in Bosnia the mountains are freezing cold and the water is freezing cold for you to make wudu at Fajr time. It's not a hot water tap that you can just turn it on. When a new Muslim brother would come, he would travel all the way, he would walk all the way to the other house, and he would bring back blankets. And one brother is telling me this, because I have got there about 7 or 8 weeks or a few months after this whole thing has happened. He said he would go between the houses and carry blankets and bedding for the new person that came. He would eat last, he would cook for them. And no one knew that this man is a prince. No one knew that. They just saw he's just an ordinary guy, a nice guy who's helping out. He's cleaning the toilets. He was doing that for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Eventually, a few months later, he joined a battle in Sarajevo. So Sarajevo was the capital of Bosnia, and the Serbs, they laid siege to it. They surrounded it for 3 years, and they would sit on the mountains outside Sarajevo, and they would fire weapons at the Bosnian Muslim civilians, and they would fire artillery at them, and they would shoot them with snipers. Many thousands died during the siege of Sarajevo. So strategically, it was very important for the Muslims to try and break the siege of Sarajevo. So this battle took place in September of 1992, which was in a place known as Visico, and this was the first Visico operation, where the Muslim fighters alongside the Bosnian army were going to try and break through the Bosnian Serb lines in Visico, which is on the outskirts of Sarajevo. They wanted to punch a line through and break that siege. So as it happened, Muhammad al-Fatih al-Bahraini, he went into that battle and he was the commander of that battle. A night before that battle, he saw a dream that he is in paradise and there's a woman there and she's combing the right hand side of his head. She's combing his hair from the right hand side of his head. The next morning, the battle took place. Muhammad al-Fatih al-Bahraini, he was the commander. They went through one line of the Serbs, they went through the second line, they went through the third line, and at the third line, when he was standing at a bunker or near a bunker, he was shot dead by a sniper which shot him. And where did the bullet go? In the right hand side of his head, where that woman of paradise had been combing his hair. The brother who went into the bunker moments after Muhammad al-Fatih, and he's telling me this himself, he went in and he smelled the smell of musk, of perfume coming from his body. So when the battle was over, they were not successful fully in breaking the siege. When the battle was over and they went back to the headquarters, they opened his personal belongings to find his passport and his contact details and his will in order to notify his family. And when they opened his passport and it said Sheikh Hamad so-and-so Ali Khalifa, then they realized that that man, that humble man who used to clean the toilets and wash the dishes, that humble man was actually a prince of one of the wealthiest countries in the world. The news then got back to the family home, to the family palace back in Bahrain, and his father was not, at that time, he wasn't a devout Muslim, his brother wasn't a devout Muslim at that time, and often another sheikh in Bosnia told me this personally. He said Muhammad al-Fatih would often come to me and he would kiss me on my head, and I would say, why are you kissing me on my head? That is an honor you should reserve only for your father. And he would say that you are more deserving of it than my father, because my father is away from the deen. Please make dua that my father and my brother, they return to Allah, they return to the deen. So what happened is when news got to the palace and people then began to visit the palace to offer condolences and to offer their condolences on the martyrdom of their son, and people came to his father and his brother and his family had to receive the guests, and the things they said to his father, that Allah has honored your family. Today Allah has honored your family because your son is a shaheed, your son has been martyred. He's been killed fighting to protect people against genocide. May Allah bless you, protect you. So the people, for the first time in his life, he felt respect, not because of his status or because he's a member of the royal family or because he had money, but because of his connection with Allah, because of Islam, because their son had done a great deed for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As a result of that, his father changed and he became close to the deen, and his brother also changed and he became religious and devout. So that's the end of this story. That's the end of this dream. 3 quick reflections from this dream. The first one, true honor is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not in status, it's not in your family, it's not in money, it's not in qualifications, it's not in titles. True honor comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Man kana yuridu al-izzata fa inna al-izzata lillahi jami'a. If there's anyone who wants honor, Allah says in the Quran, whoever wants honor, to Allah belongs all honor. If it's honor that you seek it with Allah. If it's a validation that you seek it with Allah. Don't seek it from people. Don't seek it on social media. Don't seek it in terms of likes and retweets and shares and comments. Seek it from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because to Him belongs all honor. If Allah wants to honor you, no one can disgrace you, and if Allah wants to disgrace you, no one can honor you. This man was given honor by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How do you know that? because nearly 30 years on, I am telling you his story. You can see his photo and I'm telling you his story. His story. And there's been many people that are parts of royal families. There are many people that have been, many princes from all around the world that have lived. Why is it only this one that is being talked about 30 years after his death? Because may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept him, because there was something special about him. So true honor comes from Allah, not from titles or riches or status. The second lesson about sincerity, humility and arrogance. This man was sincere. He hid his good actions like the Sahaba would hide their good actions. Like people hide their sins, he hid his good actions. He thought that if people find out I'm a prince, they might start acting with me differently. They might start respecting me, but they don't really respect me. They just respect my status, or maybe that I have money, that's what they'll respect. And he didn't want that. He wanted people to deal with him on a person to person basis. You know, they have this saying, never meet your heroes, because they might disappoint you. And often you find famous people, celebrities, and not just, I'm not talking about general celebrities, even Muslims. You will find when there's famous people, you hear all about them, but when you meet them in person, or when you get to know them in person, they really do disappoint you. So it's good to admire your heroes from far, but don't actually get too close, because you'll find out that actually my hero is not a hero. And you'll also find that you're attached to the personality and not to the actual person themselves. When you meet the person, you're quite disappointed because you thought you're meeting a personality, but you just meet an ordinary human being who has flaws and who has mistakes and you know, who gets angry, who gets upset, who hurts people. That's what you're doing. But in this man's case, he was in person, so no one knew. He didn't have a public profile, he didn't have a social media profile, he didn't have an image in public, but in private, where it really mattered, and with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who knew where it really mattered, then we hope he was a sincere person. We hope, without sanctifying anyone above Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah accept it from him. And the third reflection from this story, one of the ways you really find out the true nature, the reality of a person, is when they are in a calamity, or in they're suffering humiliation or oppression, or they're going through a calamity. That's when the true nature of that person comes out. It's easy to talk the talk. It's easy to talk the talk and say, yeah, I'm this, I'm that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm a big man, I'm on the front line, I'm going to do this, I'm all of that. It's easy, anyone can do that. But when it comes down to it, what happens? I spent some time in war in different countries, and I've seen people there that are tough and big and strong, like man's man, masculine people. And once the bullets started to fly, their legs became like jelly. They began to shake and hyperventilate. I can't do this, I can't do this, I need to go, I can't do this. I've seen that happen many times, many times. I remember there was this guy, and he's I think he's still alive in the UK, and he's some big like leader, and he's got a following, and he's a sheikh, and he's got lots of people under him. Many years ago, this man, when he was a nothing, he went to some training camp in Afghanistan, and there was no fighting there, no war. But after a few days, he began to cry. And the brother who's telling me this story, he said he put his head on this shoulder and he cried like a baby. He said, I'm not as strong as you guys. I don't know about you guys, but I'm just missing my mum. I need to go home. And they tried to encourage him, come on, look, you know, it's not going to be long. We're all going to go home. Just wait a few more weeks. And he said, I need to go home. And he left and he came home. And now he lives in the UK, and he's some big, strong, famous person. I'm not going to mention his name. You know, it's not important who his name is. It's the concept that is more important. But you see the reality of a person when they are under pressure, when they are in a place of hardship, of calamity, in a place like war, where it's only you and your survival, and you're worried about yourself. Someone who serves other people, that person is a special person. When it's cold and you just want to sleep, and I went in that same house, it was freezing cold. It was so cold in the mountains. We would break a bathtub. There was a bathtub full of water, We would break the ice in the morning at Fajr time and then take water out from there and use it to make wudu. It's freezing, it's so cold. When you pour that water on your skin, it's like someone is pouring fire onto it. It burns. That's how cold it was there. You just want to stay inside and warm near the fire all the time. And this man would get up and he would go outside and he would clean the toilets in that cold. May Allah accept him. If it's greatness that you want, if it's honor that you want, if it's status, validation that you want, seek it from the one that can give it to you. Seek it from Allah. Please Allah. Say, Allah, I'm doing this for you. Make him happy. And he will give you an honor that you cannot even imagine. If you enjoyed this video, please share it, share it, share it. Share it widely. Let the whole world watch this video and know about the story of this man, Hamad Ali Khalifa, Prince Hamad Ali Khalifa, Muhammad al-Fatih al-Bahraini. May Allah accept him and have mercy upon him and honor and bless his family. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
يا أمة الإسلام بشرى لن يطول بك الهوان قد لاح فجرك باسما فلترقبي ذاك الزمان يا أمة الإسلام بشرى لن يطول بك الهوان قد لاح فجرك باسما فلترقبي ذاك